Hey guys, Wyatt Claypool here. Well, there has been a lot of action in federal politics in Canada. I want to shift focus to Alberta politics because there are three by-elections coming up in late June that I think will give us a good idea of what position Danielle Smith is in for the 2027 provincial election. Yes, it's 2025, we're still a long ways out, but this is going to be a way of seeing how big the separatist movement is and what kind of state the NDP is in right now. Honestly, a really big shock to me in politics is how badly Naheed Nenshi is performing as the Alberta NDP leader. I genuinely thought there was a chance he'd actually perform better than Rachel Notley as the NDP leader because he was a three-term Calgary mayor, and that seemed like the sort of energy the NDP would need to actually threaten the UCP. Now, I'm a conservative, I support the UCP, but I do like to analyze politics from what parties should do if they want to win, because if you want to beat those parties, you should know like what they may be like at their peak performance. I assumed Naheed Nenshi would be peak performance for the NDP. At the same time, during the leadership, I did think that Sarah Hoffman may be a more traditional NDP leader that could lead the party more in line with the way Notley was doing it. And right now, Naheed Nenshi seemed like the outside, or at the time, he seemed like the outside option that would give them a lot more strength in Calgary, because I assumed Edmonton would be a default. Edmonton right now looks like in the two by-elections taking place in Edmonton, there's one in Olds, Didsbury, Three Hills, and then there's two in Edmonton, Strathcona, which is where Naheed Nenshi's running for his seat, and then you have Edmonton, Ellerslie. Ellerslie looks like it actually may go towards the UCP based on how poor the current provincial polling is right now for the NDP. So I'm about to get right into the stats, guys, but before I do that, just a reminder, if you like my coverage, and especially if you live in Alberta, because I'm going to start covering more Alberta municipal politics as we get closer to election time. I believe in like October. Make sure you follow the channel. I'm going to be covering the Calgary mayor's race, Edmonton, stuff like that. I'll be putting out endorsements and letting you know who I'd vote for. Actually, you could sign up to my website's list if you also want that sent to you, wyattclaypool.com. So like the video, subscribe, leave a comment, do all that great stuff. Now, let's get into it. So this is the recent Abacus data poll from for Alberta. Abacus data is, again, one of the pollsters I really like. I think they do good work. In the federal election, they were actually quite close to what the results really were. I think they slightly underestimated the conservatives still, and they slightly overestimated the liberals, but it's pretty tight compared to what other pollsters were like. And right now, as you can see on screen, the UCP, led by Danielle Smith, is leading the NDP by 25 points. Now, this is not what the polls looked like as of maybe a year ago. Things a year ago were far shakier for Danielle Smith, and I could tell you exactly why. The UCP wasn't getting stuff done. There wasn't a tax cut. They hadn't really been cracking down on regulatory bloat. Even now, the UCP has some problems, definitely with some contracts that the government may be overspending on. But overall, they have finally said that they're going to be cutting taxes. Even if I wish they still balance the budget, they are at least moving on the right priorities. So the UCP's popularity has shot up, and the NDP under Naheed Nenshi has stalled out. And it's almost hard to even explain why they've stalled out. Have they made a big tactical error? I would say no. There's no vision issue, I would say. They're pretty much doing the same things that the NDP always does and says. The problem is with Naheed Nenshi, who I assumed, again, would be a more formidable opponent up against Danielle Smith. I'm just going to play a bunch of clips of him. Here's one clip I'll play in a second where he's basically saying the UCP used to be good, or conservatives in Alberta used to be good when they were Ralph Klein and Peter Lougheed. Let's be clear. Naheed Nenshi, if he was up against Ralph Klein and Peter Lougheed, would be attacking them the exact same way he is attacking Danielle Smith. I always like when people from opposite political parties say, oh, I wish that party was respectable and nice the way they used to be under insert previous leader here. They don't actually care. They're just pretending, I understand why people used to vote for this party, but now you can't. Now they're too extreme, whatever extreme means, even though arguably every party was more conservative, even the PCs under Lougheed, other than a few aspects of his oil and gas energy policy, he was more socially conservative and fiscally conservative than the UCP is today. That's not saying the UCP is bad today, but everyone tended to have smaller government kind of ideas back then. The government did less stuff back then. So Naheed Nenshi pretending like, oh, I liked those guys, but not these guys, is patently absurd. So just the smarmy way he kind of acts is the problem here, I'm going to say. I'm trying to like diagnose the situation here. And then a little bit later, I want to get into the current polling in Edmonton Ellerslie, as well as talking about Olds, Didsbury, Three Hills, and where the Republican Party of Alberta could cause trouble for the UCP in the future if they place well enough. But here is Naheed Nenshi on a radio show.
The Conservatives are extreme right now. Yeah. They are not the party of Peter Lougheed or the party of Ralph Klein. They're just extreme right. They're Trump. And if you want a party that is better with money, but also believes in investing in education and healthcare and the dignity.
I'm sorry, when have the UCP lowered spending on those things? If anything, this is a problem I have. They actually probably should cut healthcare spending, education spending, because it wouldn't actually affect the actual services at all. The problem is we spend too much money on administration and management. You could slash administration and AHS by around probably 30%, 40%. Redistribute half of that towards frontline nursing and whatnot, hire more nurses, pay the nurses better, and then you give the rest back to taxpayers. It's never been a money issue. Alberta pays the most money into healthcare per capita over any other province, and we have some of the longest wait times. It has nothing to do with money. It has to do with management. And he's always pretending like, see, we're the ones who will invest. They won't. Oh my goodness, yes, they do. What are you going to do? Double the amount of increases? Oh, then the healthcare system is going to sort itself out. That's why it was so good under the NDP in 2015 to 2019. It's never good.
Dignity of every human being. The NDP is already in that space. And I think people are starting to recognize that now.
And when you went to the back to the start of this, he's like, they're extreme right, they're far right, they're Trump. He's just naming stuff. He's like just trying to wish cast onto voters that they hopefully will believe this.
Conservatives are extreme right now.
They're extreme.
They are not the party of Peter Lougheed or the party of Ralph Klein.
They're not Lougheed and Klein.
Just extreme right. They're
extreme right.
They're Trump.
Oh my goodness, they're Trump. We can't vote for them now. This washed up mayor has told us that they're Trump, and that means you can't vote for them because he, in this stupid game of slapdash, has said, oh, they're Trump. Oh my goodness, now we can't vote for them. This isn't it. I want to bring up other clips of Naheed Nenshi, but everything about him just comes off like a fake downtown Edmonton progressive politician, or Calgary. I don't think Calgary can escape blame on electing progressives like Naheed Nenshi and Jody Gondek. But even just, again, I'm not trying to be rude here when I say, look at that outfit. I am not one who avoids wearing weird shirts. I wear very eccentric shirts. I have a lot of multicolored shirts out there. What is he wearing, though? It looks like a 90s, what is it? Those magic eye photos where you like stare at it and it becomes like a picture of Mickey Mouse or something like that. And then he has this kind of like soft gray sweater on, and then he has a bunch of buttons attached to it. This is what I assume, like if he was younger, a college socialist club person would look like. And now he's going to tell us about, like, I think it's like some Filipino holiday or recognition month or something.
Okay, what could be better than being at the beginning of Filipino Heritage Month?
Oh, yeah. What could be better than the beginning of Filipino Heritage Month? What could be better? And this isn't me being like, who cares about Filipino culture? It's probably interesting. Why do we have months for stuff like this? Have a day. I think Filipino people probably wake up like a few days in and be like, yeah, I think we kind of run out of stuff to do, because at the end of the day, like real life has to start back up. Why does things have to be months or now seasons? Just keep it to a day. And even then, it probably shouldn't be a day. Just have your own private little holidays, and it's Filipino Independence Day and they have a Filipino Independence Day celebration. Do it then. What's with these months? And there's like 7. Funny thing is, every month is like the month of like 50 different things. It's Pride Month. It's Filipino History Month. It's Men's Mental Health Month. It's Veterans Awareness Day or Veterans Mental Health Day. I don't even know. It's like 50 things. It's probably Talk Like a Pirate Month as well.
with an incredible Filipino choir and musical group who have won awards in the Philippines, playing 4 strong winds. I'm feeling real Albertan and real Canadian right now, and I'm thrilled.
It wasn't until there was a Filipino band playing 4 strong winds that he felt like a real Canadian.
To be here to recognize the launch of this beautiful cultural map of Filipino identity here in Edmonton. We'll put a link below so you can take a look at it. But also, as someone who largely grew up in my best friend's house, which is a Filipino home in Calgary, I'm feeling at home here.
What is this? It's like 3 minutes or like a minute and a half of him like fluttering his eyelashes and saying, "Well, this is making me feel so Albertan because it's Filipino History Month and there's stuff going on," and his head's rotating and he keeps closing his eyes for like 3 seconds at a time, looking like he's about to fall asleep. I don't want to go after someone for purely the aesthetics, but the aesthetics of Naheed Nenshi come off as fussy, progressive, out of touch. And what's going on with the NDP right now is they've lost working class voters in the exact same way that Jagmeet Singh lost them. He is just a fussy downtown progressive, and this is why he may lose Edmonton voters. Edmonton voters tend to be very unionized working class voters. And those people are the people that Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives just picked up in big swathes around the country in very Edmonton-like areas. Windsor, Tecumseh Lakeshore, and these other, I think it was Windsor West, both ridings the Conservatives hadn't either won between the 50s or the 30s, and they just picked that up. Do you think Edmonton Ellerslie is out of play? Conservatives used to win those ridings like 10 years ago. I don't think that that's out of play right now, and we're going to get to the stats on that riding in just a second. Well, here's their Pride Month post.
Well, happy Pride. We are kicking off Pride Month here with a number of my MLA colleagues at the Quilt Bag, a wonderful store on White Avenue in Edmonton, Strathcona.
Now, more than ever, it's time to celebrate Pride, but also we have to reflect on the fact that Pride began as a protest.
Why is this anything that voters care about? The average, let's just say, because I always say this is the average voter, that if you're going to win an election, you need. What woman who's 35 years old, has 1 or 2 kids, gets her coffee at Starbucks, goes to Safeway for her groceries, works a part-time job, what woman in the middle of what at times right now are kind of like there's an economic struggle going on is going to be like, well, good thing Nenshi has this minute and a half video where he and his most frivolous MLAs are talking about why Pride really matters, especially this year. A party that is currently attacking the UCP for banning what is actual like 18 plus content from libraries. Just like disgusting images, not educational at all, being put into libraries, and they were protesting this, and then they post videos like this. You're not winning who we'll call Stephanie. Stephanie, that 35-year-old woman, is not showing up and voting for the NDP. Do you think a guy who takes a hard hat off at the end of his shift is voting for these guys? They're on a path to blowing up their party because they don't talk to any voters. They don't speak to any of them on in their own needs. By the way, what is Nenshi wearing here? I'm just noticing this. I know it was in the last video too. He's wearing like yellow sneakers. I guess he filmed all these videos on the same day, or this is his like go-to look now. Yellow sneakers, pair of jeans, an untucked in shirt that's like multicolored, wearing this kind of like halfway Letterman's jacket, has a bunch of his pins on. What is this? And he's going to do a walk and talk video about nothing.
So I've had a great Edmonton weekend. Yesterday I spent time in the south at the JRJ Mosque's annual volunteer party. This morning I was at the World Partnership Walk with thousands of Edmontonians fighting global poverty. I spent some time kicking off Filipino Heritage Month with a beautiful new project that examines the cultural landscape in map form of Filipino Edmontonians on our community. I door knocked a lot, met lots of.
What's this action shot of him very slowly soft shoeing around the streets and like doing this turn? I'm like distracted by the way he's moving in this video. But again, it's I've been at events, guys. I've been at events, and I whined at the Conservatives for taking pornography out of schools And then I got mad at them because they overspent on something, even though we were notorious for overspending when we were in government and when I was mayor. But ignore all that, guys, because I ate some food at a Filipino event.
Edmontonians, now it's late, and I'm hungry, and I'm here on White Avenue. I'm told there are some restaurants around here. I might be able to get a bite to eat. But come close. I got to tell you one other thing. It's the Nathan Fillion Civilian Pavilion. He was here this weekend.
Who cares? Who is that?
My colleague Janice Irwin gave him a hug on stage. Nobody told me. We got to do better, Edmonton.
What was that? What the heck was that? I don't even know what that was. Yeah, who could guess why this party's not doing very well right now? I want to show you Edmonton Ellerslie. And by the way, when I showed that previous poll that had the UCP leading the NDP by 25 points, and then previously I also showed a Janet Brown poll, who's a very accurate pollster. I think she showed like a 14, 15-point lead for the Conservatives. Remember, too, I'll just quickly show this on screen. In 2023, the UCP and Danielle Smith beat the NDP in the popular vote by 8%. Now, that was not like that still isn't exactly like it was still a very close election when it came to seats because of Calgary. But that should tell us that if now the UCP are 12 to 25 points ahead, the NDP might be in like even more trouble than we think in a lot of these seats. Let's look at Edmonton Ellerslie, which, yes, has been voting NDP since 2015. But this is not exactly a super reliable NDP riding. So in 2015, the NDP first won this riding back in 2012, the PC party had won this, with the Wild Rose party being second place, and third we had the NDP only winning 16%. Jump ahead to 2015, the NDP won it with 61% of the vote, which is a very commanding victory. Although there was a lot of problems with the Progressive Conservatives changing out their candidate because the guy Naheed Bardwaj, I'm so sorry for not being able to pronounce those names. He was the MLA, and then he had to drop out because of a fake scandal that was later proven untrue. But then when they ended up having to throw another guy in, and then Jackie Lovely, who's currently on MLA for the UCP, ran as the Wild Rose, it split things up a lot, and then the NDP ended up rocketing way ahead. 2019, though, it actually got pretty close, 50% to 37.91. But that's still when the NDP's working class draw was quite strong. Jump to 2023, and Rod La Jolla had held on to it with 61% compared to Ranjit Bath with 36.83. And again, I'm not trying to come down on Ranjit Bath here, but I don't believe that that was really a riding that they were even attempting to win. Not that even Ranjit probably was attempting to win it. The UCP knew that there was no ridings they were going to win in Edmonton, so they threw a lot of people into ridings knowing that they're just there basically as a paper candidate to put in a good showing, and that's kind of it. In 2025, though, Naheed Bardwaj is back running for the UCP against a new NDP candidate because all this was kicked off by Rod La Jolla resigning his seat to run for the Liberals, who then kicked him out of the nomination they gave him, which meant that he now has no office. And this riding, with the past incumbent back, does probably have quite a good chance of actually being able to win. And by the way, this isn't even the fully updated list of candidates. The Alberta Liberals are running candidates in both of the Edmonton by-elections. And I shouldn't have to tell you, that's really going to hurt the NDP because a lot of Canadians, in Edmonton especially, just got through voting Liberal. Now, the Liberals only won a couple of seats. I think they only won a couple of seats in Edmonton. But then at the same time, even though they only won 2 seats, a lot of these seats overlap with some of these provincial ridings. So you have a lot of people who are probably preparing to go to the voting station. They'll see Liberal on the ballot and they'll be like, oh, I like the Liberals. And they'll like scratch in an X, even though the Liberals don't even really exist as a party on a provincial level. And they didn't run candidates in the last provincial election. So when you saw the NDP holding on to a lot of these Edmonton seats with high percentages of the vote, part of it was because there really wasn't many Alberta Party candidates and there wasn't any Liberal candidates. And now the Liberal Party, on the strength of Mark Carney's brand, is back. So, yeah, this could get pretty hairy for the NDP. I predict that Ellerslie is either going to be close or the UCP actually could win it. So either the NDP is going to win it by just a few points, or the UCP could win it by a few points. Now, let's talk about Olds, Didsbury, Three Hills. I don't need to bring anything up on screen right now, but what we have going on here is a riding that the UCP is obviously going to win. It's a rural riding, but if you were to poll ridings on where separatism was most popular, where independence was most popular, Olds, Didsbury, Three Hills would be a prime riding to go around gathering support for that movement, because it's probably well above 50% support for saying that Alberta would be better off as its own country. I do want to bring up this poll on screen, which showed what the current ratings are in Alberta for if Canada or Alberta would leave Canada. Right now, 66% of people in Alberta think that it's unlikely, 14% think it's likely, and 11% could happen. Now, this is not a poll of people who actually want to leave. Last time I saw that, it's around 35% to 65%. Now, a lot of people don't think it could happen. At the same time, around the amount of people who think it could happen is heavily concentrated in the 1/3 of Alberta that is rural. And Olds, Didsbury, Three Hills is easily above 50%. Now, in that riding, as well as the two Edmonton ridings, the Republican Party of Alberta is running candidates. In fact, the leader of the Alberta Republican Party, Cameron Davies, is running as the Olds, Didsbury, Three Hills candidate. Now, I'm going to say, if the UCP wants to stave off an independent surge in the provincial polls, it needs to keep Cam Davies in that riding below 13%. If they can keep him in the low teens, then it's going to look like a flash in the pan, and it's not going to go anywhere. A big problem for the UCP is it could even win Edmonton Ellerslie, and what could then happen, though, is if, let's say, the Republican Party can clock in at 20% in Olds, Didsbury, Three Hills, then that's signaling there is legs to this, because even on short notice, we were able to actually punch into the 20s. That is going to shoot up the separatist polling, especially in rural areas across Alberta, and it may even dig a few points into Edmonton ridings and Calgary ridings. That's where, even if the NDP is very weak with Nenshi, they could still win the next provincial election if you experience a big independent versus federalist vote split. So that's a little warning going into that. I don't want to do deep analysis on that, just more so that's what I'm looking forward to on June 23rd. I want to see what happens, and depending on what happens, I think it's going to really change how Alberta politics is going to shape up for the next election, or it may just mean that the UCP is way ahead, nothing's changed, and they're probably going to win re-election easily in 2027. So anyways, that should be it for me today, guys, in this video. I've been sort of tripping over myself in the latter half of these videos. Obviously, I film all these in one take. I always have to be kind of like pace yourself out and have a good rhythm. That's why I do the, hey guys, Wyatt Claypool here at the start of the video, because if I don't do that, kind of the rhythm can feel very like ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk. And I'm not like really like kind of like going at like bang, bang, bang. It sort of starts to feel like I'm like tripping all over myself immediately. But hopefully you don't mind this insider information I put in at the end of my videos. Now, the video is already long enough, so I do want to just mention random other stuff. I will do at some point some sort of video or short over all of like the NES games I put in the back of my videos. I'm not kidding. I have never repeated a game so far. Can I even turn the camera? I can turn the camera, I guess. Over in the corner of this room, you can see a big bin there. All those, pretty much the one on top, all those are NES games that I've purchased for the purpose of putting in the background of videos. There's a bag sitting on top that you may have seen. That's new ones. I am running out of new ones, so I have to go out and purchase more, because I'm now on this journey or this quest to never repeat a single cartridge until I've basically burned through all the non-hyper rare NES games that I can get my hands on. Like, I'm not gonna buy a copy of a game that's like $1,200, but if I can keep finding things that are like $5 and like, $20 or whatever here and there, I will keep attempting to make sure. Oh my goodness, I will keep attempting to make sure that there's always a new game in the background. Today it's 1942. I'd already done 1943, but picked up this copy recently. I'm rambling now, I know. Anyways, so that's it for me today, guys. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, do all that great stuff, and I'll talk to you guys later.